restrictions of COVID, they have certainly lifted finally in Melbourne where you are. How are retailers and shoppers responding?
I think the overwhelming feeling that we're seeing, Janie, is just joy. You know, a lot of the retailers that I've spoken with this week just are feeling such a sense of relief and a joy that they've been able to open their doors again, to see their regular customers and just to be open again, you know, particularly at such a busy upcoming time of the year.
And Monique, you have written a book, Managing Difficult Customer Behaviour. What was your motivation behind writing this?
What I was seeing is certainly when COVID first hit was a real escalation of difficult customer behaviour. That was also echoed in the conversations that I was having with many team members and leaders, and actually seeing that customer behaviour escalate. I just really wanted to be able to find a way that I could support our service community and just put together a really practical resource to be able to help them through what's been a really, really difficult time for retailers, everybody in our service community.
A very good, difficult time. How have you found that retailers and frontline workers have been coping during the very stressful times?
It's certainly been a really difficult time for those that have not been able to open, obviously for some that have been able to be online or convert to online, but for some of our small businesses in particular where they haven't been able to open or they haven't been able to quickly go online, it's been a very, very stressful and difficult time. So it's just been a real joy to see everybody so happy this week with the reopening.
Absolutely. In your experience, why do you think people are behaving like this?
When we saw COVID come into play, I mean, difficult customer behaviour has always been there. It's been something that I've talked about for the past 20 years. But when COVID came into place, it really disrupted for a lot of people the way that they were shopping. So there was different restrictions in place, delays, even things like different COVID protocols, safety measures, only a certain amount of people allowed in stores and so on. And so this really started impacting the way that customers were able to go about what they would just normally do, and then put together everything from financial pressure to pressures to all of the other issues that people are going on themselves. We can see that that's certainly led to a lot of escalating customer behaviours.
Yeah, and I believe there are some alarming statistics that you found as well.
Yeah, 88% of people in retail have suffered abuse, and in some cases we're just seeing percentages even higher. And I think there's that real difference between that angry, upset customer, but particularly when we're looking at that customer aggression and abuse, that has absolutely, in many, many different studies, that has been documented that this is actually escalating.
So what, Monique, are the ramifications for people who behave inappropriately?
There has to be ramifications from the organisation's perspective, and it's been fantastic to see so many proactive retailers and organisations that have put together policies and procedures around that unacceptable customer conduct, so that if there is somebody who is behaving in that way towards a team member, that they will be either asked to cease their behaviour, or there'll be security measures, or they'll be asked to remove the premises, and further reporting from there depending on the level of that customer abuse and aggression. So it's really critical that organisations do have those policies in place to be able to support their teams, as well as letting the customers know what is going to be acceptable and what's unacceptable behaviour.
And what are some of your tips for retailers and frontline workers in dealing with this?
Really important that they do receive training, because it is a real skill, and to be able to have the skills and tools and techniques and language is really critical. So in that moment, I think for those that are on the front line that have to deal with that really angry, upset customer, my first tip is always about breathing. So that fight and flight response that kicks in straight away, just to focus on that breathing, then just hear the customer out. Making sure too that they're, particularly if there's been a service issue or something's gone wrong, that empathy is really important. I can appreciate your frustration with the delay. Then being able to move to ask some questions, and then finally to take some ownership around what they can do to help the customer. And also making sure that they take some time for self-care, because it's really tough dealing with customers that are angry, upset and aggressive. So it's really critical for that self-care of the team member as well.
Yeah, they certainly are in a vulnerable position. Monique Richardson, author of Managing Difficult Customer Behaviour, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Janie.